All right, welcome folks to the weekly SIG Autoscaling meeting on the 29th of January 2026. Let's start with the agenda. I think all of the items are mine so far. The first one is actually from Justyna, but she couldn't attend and she asked me to relay it to all of you. There is a very early draft of a proposal for an extension to the capacity buffers API. That would allow, it's the mode that would allow a workload pods to fill in a buffer without it being recreated on top. It's still a very early proposal, like early call for comment. This is especially interesting to the Carpenter folks, I'm sure, if you're on the call. Right, moving on. So a quick update on KubeCon 2026 Europe in Amsterdam. We had 2 talks accepted within SIG Autoscaling, one for the Maintainer Summit. So if you're attending the Maintainer Summit, it'd be great to see you there. One is like a general SIG Autoscaling project update. So we'll be covering everything under the SIG. If you want something covered, like this is also a call for the other point I'm listing there, which is we need to provide a 2025 annual report for SIG Autoscaling. The deadline for that is we need to open a PR with it by Feb 14th and merge it by the end of February. And this will also be very helpful input for the KubeCon talk. So one of it is SIG Autoscaling update. The other one, and that's me, Jack, and Omer, I believe. And the other one is me and Jack talking about cluster autoscaler evolution, brief history of CA, and most of it about the plans for how we want to refactor CA in the near future. All of the recent APIs we've introduced, like capacity buffers or quotas, things like that. So if you're there, I'll definitely be great to see you. And that's all from me. Do we have anything else from the call? Anyone? Yeah, Jack, go for it.
Yeah, I'm a bit late today, but we talked last week about a potential separate triage meeting.
Oh, yeah.
For maybe one each for CA and BPA, but in particular for those 2 projects. Has anyone who was a part of that conversation last week thought about that further? Any more ideas about that? The sort of soft understanding from last week is that the consensus was that it would be beneficial, and so we would look into the community calendar and look for a slot to do that. Kuba? Or Adam, did you raise your hand first? Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah.
I've got a different topic.
Okay, cool. Kuba, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. So I wasn't here last week. So a quick point from me about that, because this is very relevant to an internal effort I'm doing right now. Separately from the community discussions last week, we've also arrived in GKE at the conclusion that we're missing triage in this repo. And so we'll be doing that sort of for our own purposes for GKE, right? This is sort of naturally the GKE perspective on the CA issues. So it won't cover all of the needs of triaging the issues within the SIG. And I definitely still see the need for a dedicated meeting, the community meeting. But we can, while we're doing that, like we'll be looking at all of the issues anyway in at least some detail. We can like attach metadata. We can do some process on them because we're going to be processing them anyway. So something to keep in mind.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. So not about the separate triage meetings, although maybe it would end up in a separate triage meeting, but I was reading updates on Proposal 8956, which is VPA support for heterogeneous workloads, which overlaps some with the previous proposal 7942 that is kind of doing the different things in a similar space. And so, yeah, I was wondering if there's a process to resolve that, or if we just like usually comment on both proposals and hope that they sync up, or I don't know, any input from others on how best to make them work together.
I feel I'm missing the VPA context here. What would be the action you need from the SIG? Do you need a cap reviewed? Is there some confusion about which cap should be worked on? Could you share some more
Uh,
context?
yeah, so I guess last year I proposed the 7942, which was focused on like essentially partitioning daemon sets into smaller pieces for independent scaling of workloads. And then the 8956 proposes using like pod labels to treat uh, scaling independently within those pod labels. So yeah, I guess like there's a number of things that could happen next. Like one proposal could close and the other could try to adopt some ideas, or both could close and we start a new proposal, or we could just kind of proceed until one of them is merged and then the other one becomes obsolete. So I'm not sure if there's any like active management of that kind of thing, or if we just see what
It's
happens.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely good that you're bringing it up. Definitely feels like SIG Autoscaling input is needed here. Could you describe all of that in an issue in our repo, and we can go from that? Sadly, we're missing Adrian today, who is the lead from the workload autoscaling side. But maybe
Yeah,
there's someone else on the call with context that could commit to helping here. If not, if you could capture that in an issue, we can definitely revisit that next week with hopefully a more accurate audience.
yeah.
Michael?
I think Omer's commented on both as well.
Yeah, it's basically a more design questions of how do you want to manage it? Because we have two proposals at the moment. One is for deployments, saying one is leader and the other replicas are followers. And the PR that Adam proposed is in more of a demon set. And we have two schools of thoughts here, two different thoughts, and we don't know how to manage them together. So maybe we'll create on Slack even a channel for both of us, and we can discuss it there. All of the authors for both of the PRs. The one from Confluent, I think the other one was Adrian, me, and you guys, and anyone who wants to join, of course. So we can take it more offline and in a more responsive way.
Yeah.
Sounds like a productive way forward. Michael, your hand? Oh, there's no hand anymore.
I mean, I pretty much
Oh,
agree
okay.
with what Omer said. I was just going to recommend to Adam, yeah, like the solution to this is increased communication, right? Like get Omer involved, reach out to Adrian as well, and then like I'm seeing that these two issues they do have some cross linkage on them, but it's like we need to increase the conversation, basically, right? Get the authors of both involved because that's the only way we're going to break this down, right? Like, and so if you have an idea about like kind of the next level of design or how these things can be brought together. I have a feeling right now it's probably just the case that outside of you and Omer and Adrian, most people probably just aren't even considering that these things are correlated. So it's just a matter of increasing the communication, helping people see the correlation, and then sharing your vision about what's going forward. That's my opinion, but that's just a really long way of saying +1 to what Omer is saying.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I create a channel for all of us.
Does that sound okay, Adam?
Yep, sounds good.
Perfect. Do we have any other topics? Do we want to keep talking about the triage meeting? Do we prefer to, because I see some conversation going on in chat, do we prefer to take it offline or on Slack? How does everybody feel about that?
How do folks feel about, so Omar raises the point that we could probably benefit from triage across all three of the main projects in the SIG. Carpenter has its own triage and community meeting, so we could probably just say that that's already covered. I'm not sure how easy it is in the community calendar. Maybe it's just a Google Calendar under the hood, and so you just do every third week, VPA, HPA, CA, and that would be better than now. And it's not like every week triage, but just some forcing function in the calendar to keep things up to date. And also, I think a forcing function for all three of the projects to define sort of the structure of how we organize issues and PRs, milestone labels, that kind of thing.
Yeah, some of the structure is already sort of given to us by Kubernetes, like the priorities.
Yeah.
And like the triage labels, right? So we can probably leverage that. But like what the priorities mean exactly for a given project is definitely for us to decide. Yeah. So any action items, or are we continuing the discussion offline?
Why don't I take the action item of just writing a proposal? I'm also happy to sort of be on the hook for at least opening the meeting every week, and I can get some backups from you. Unless we want to.
It's a very fun exercise in hundreds of bouncing emails every week. And
yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Filtering them out of the inbox.
Add to my tens of thousands every week. It doesn't even move the needle. So, but we can also, maybe discuss in Slack how we want to, be inclusive to EU and US and potentially Asia as well. So that's always a hard thing to do. I think we can be practical. It doesn't seem like we have super active regular contributors in the Asia time zone, so that maybe makes the SIG's job easier. But we can always change it in the future if that changes.
I also think the audience for this meeting, well, like technically could be anyone, right? Like in practice, the regular attendees will probably be a very limited set of people, so it might be easier to base the timing on just particular people, at least to start with. And then gauge, for example, how many people have a problem with that specific time, and then change based on that.
Yeah, and I also think recording will have some value to the general public as well. And it'll serve. You don't have to necessarily be at the triage meeting, but from a SIG value to the public perspective, just having a triage meeting will serve the public. So,
yeah, just like one more thought in this space. I wonder what the percentage is when you break it down by component. I'm fairly confident that CA accounts for like 2/3 of the issues. So that it's also, and I'm pretty sure there's very few HPA in our particular repo.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I feel like I would go more 50-50. VPA has a lot of stuff, at least in terms of PRs. There's a lot of PRs that are, and that's largely due to
take PRs into account,
Adrian
then
being active.
I'm thinking of issues. Yeah, you're right.
But it's definitely true about HPA. Although I think sort of maybe counterintuitively, the relative lack of activity in HPA makes having a regular triage meeting more important, because it can be easy to like ignore something for 18 months because it's just below your radar.
This is sadly very true.
Yeah, we also will have two caps in this release, planned for this release anyway. So the activity is going to be more and more.
You mean 136, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, really, we should be covering those here. So that's feedback for the leads. We could be doing a better job of just making sure we discuss KEPs during this meeting.
Yep, we also should start discussing end-to-end tests, although we are still fixing them, but they're close to green. So could be a new agenda item to like just look at them periodically, not to, in order like for them not to regress again. Yeah, that is it from me for sure. Anything else? Anyone? Okay, I think we're done for today. Thanks everyone, and see you all next week.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Noah.
Later, everybody.